Hello, everybody, and welcome to our latest installment of High P at Home. My name is Kerry Cusimano, and I'm the Girls Division Director at High Performance here in St. Louis. First off, I just want to say I hope everybody's staying home and being safe and healthy in this time so we can get through this faster and get back to playing some volleyball. I'm joined again by my partner in crime, Mr. Scott Tazinski. Scotty, how you doing?
What's up, guys? Good to see you.
Good to be seen. Today we have a special guest, Mr. Dustin Watten, a U.S. men's national team member. Dustin, how are you?
Best day ever. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for joining us. We've started both of our other two episodes kind of talking about how people are dealing with the stay-at-home order, how people are dealing with the shutdown. Dustin, just want to get your perspective on how you're dealing with the day-to-day.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have my ideas about the stay-at-home. I think it is a little too much. I think people need to be outside, need to be moving, we need to be around community. But at the same time, this is the decision of the government. And so now it's just like, how can I pivot? Because for me, like a lot of younger athletes, initially it's a big disappointment. I was in Poland this year and had one of the best seasons I've had individually and with my team. We had an amazing run. And so it's just, initially it's a bummer. It's like, I want to continue. And then initially it's like, oh, and by the way, we're going to cut your salary. And then it's like, no Olympics. And then it's like, you're not going to get paid this summer. And so it's just like, all right, well, it's just like, let's pivot, like what's completely within my control. And so those are my ability to set goals, my actions, my efforts, my perceptions. And so it's just trying to pivot. And for me, the big thing right now, it's how can I be of service to the volleyball community, especially younger athletes that are being hit hard, and how can I help them and reshape their perceptions of this reality. So that's what I've been up to. Like I said, a lot of pivoting because, I want to play. I want to go. This will be the first time I'm going to go lift, actually. I haven't lifted in like 6 weeks. So it's just realizing what's completely within my control. And a lot of these things aren't within my control. And so just trying to have foresight of putting all my energy and focus in things that are in my control rather than letting it be drained out, complaining, whining, or, gossiping about how difficult or tough things are.
I like the word pivot. Scotty and I and everybody in our group have been talking a lot about, we didn't go to school for this. We didn't plan for this. And we're all trying to find ways to still, like you said, be of service. This is one of the ways we've really been focusing on trying to stay connected to the volleyball community, especially, our families at High Performance. Use the word pivot. What's been the main focus? You said being service to younger athletes. How have you been attempting to do that?
Yeah. So luckily before all this happened, I've been working with a result coach, actually one of our old teammates, Kevin Cape. And so he's just been pushing me. He's like, well, where can you be of service? He's like, you have a great audience. Like, how can you be of service? And so I've been trying different things. I created a journal. I'm a big advocate on journaling. So I created a journal. I've been selling that. Now I'm just currently giving that out for free because the big question I get from a lot of athletes is, what can I do? What can I do? And for me, it's like, at times, like people want to touch the ball, but like all these like videos of like memes off the wall and stuff like that, like if you're really dedicated to your growth, this is not helping. Like it's fun, yeah, but I think now is a great time to shift our focus and our energy into other aspects of the game, specifically the mental game. And journaling, meditating, visualization, having extreme intention upon waking up and using this time to build the foundation. So when you step back on the court, these are not just routines, but they are habits. And so these are things that have been really big for me because when I was younger, just hard work was enough. But going to college and then professional, everyone's working hard. And not only is everyone working hard, but everyone's a lot more talented than me. So I've had to find different edges. And I think this is a great opportunity for younger athletes that are really passionate about their growth to use this time to cultivate, grow, and to sow these habits that will help them be a much more confident version of themselves once they step back on the court. Whereas before, maybe they didn't have enough time with volleyball and school. I know how demanding both can be. But also upon that, excuse me, in Poland, I was working on writing like kind of a manifesto in passing, not just my style, but how the best players in the world are playing in all these different styles. And so it's kind of like a choose your own path to greatness. I talk about preparation, I talk about movement, different footwork, how to create space, and giving the audience, which is a kind of like I like to speak to a younger version of myself, someone who's passionate about volleyball, but maybe really isn't that great yet. And so trying to empower them with knowledge to make them a little more confident. I've been giving those out. I've been doing free Zooms for teams, analyzing video of great players. And then I also have kind of going a little deeper upon the email course. I have a video course I created that I'm selling. So just too much of my day is just spent connecting with teams and regions and USA Volleyball, but I'm also really happy to be of service.
Yeah, that's, thank you so much for giving our families and our players the little Zoom that you had with them. We got such great feedback about it. I was in there for a little bit. I was trying not to take some other kid's space in there because it was only limited to 100. But I'm excited to watch the full entire version, whatever it comes out after you recorded it. Obviously, for me, it's special to have you on here. We played against each other. We played with each other. Played on the national team together. It's been fun to watch you. I watch, obviously, everything that you do on Instagram. No Easy Buckets is a huge thing that I love to watch all the time. Obviously, what's going on right now with the USA Volleyball season? With the Olympics being pushed back a year right now, I know that's tough on you guys. Like you said, probably not going to get paid this summer from USA Volleyball. We're in a tough position right now as a club, us and obviously all the clubs around the United States, waiting to find out what they're going to do with qualifiers, with JOs coming up for the boys. It's almost all a little guessing game. And you guys are really at the forefront right now as national team players and, in your journey to become an Olympian next year. Where are you guys at right now? What's kind of the talks that you guys have had inside of USA Volleyball?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. It's just a guessing game. It's just like, okay, prepare for worst case scenario, stay in shape, which I think a lot of guys are. But the big thing that the coaches have been preaching is just like, hey, use this to your advantage. Like, because, you don't get a lot of time with family, especially if you're not from Southern California area. So the big thing is just use this time to your advantage, connect with the family, relax, take care of your body. But the overarching theme is no one knows anything, and so just prep for the worst, which is maybe we don't even train once this summer and we leave to go start professional seasons early.
What a lot of people don't understand out there, especially with our families, is from the professional season, when we go 9 months throughout the whole entire year, we literally finish our seasons, middle April, beginning of May. We go straight back to the national team gym, 5 days later, sometimes the next day when we get off the plane, and you start to immediately get in the gym, get back training. And right now, this might be an unprecedented time that there's no even looking into time of when we're going to be able to get back into the gym and you guys train together. That's why I think maybe making the Olympics 1 year later was probably the best thing that, United States Olympic Committee and all the governing bodies did, because there's no time to train. You guys got to be at your peak performance the whole entire time. And you guys are just sitting at home like everybody else right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. Everyone's just kind of sitting at home. And so the big thing for me, again, is how can I stay intentional? How can I be purposeful? And maybe most importantly, at this time when everyone is kind of like taking everything for themselves, it's like, how can I do the opposite and just like give? And maybe I'm not making money. Maybe my whole day is busy, but just to give, and see if I can flip the script to how we're naturally wired to kind of like make sure that we survive as an individual.
I want to get into some really good volleyball talk here a little bit. I know Scotty's got some ideas of players he'd like to talk with you about, but you talk about goals, and I know as an athlete, it's always hard to think about the end of your career, but has this opportunity been a time for you to think about where you're going to pivot to after your playing career is over? Do you have goals for that? Is this a time that you thought about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely made me begin to think I need to be a little clear on my preparation. I think I've done a pretty good job of this, but just narrowing my focus, what will really make me happy, what will make me happy and allow me to give back. And then I think, the three big things is like being intentional, being able to give back, and being purposeful. And so just trying to narrow in, but I've always kind of thought about maybe traveling a little bit. But at the same time, I really enjoy working, and especially within the volleyball community, because again, going back to my own journey, I was just this kind of little skinny dork when I started, and just like wasn't athletic, but I just loved the game and just was so passionate about a better tomorrow. And I really enjoy helping out these other like Dustins, on their path. And so this also makes me really happy to see like that joy or sparkle within their eyes. And then for me, having the opportunity to be of service and to help them grow, because, like Scotty, it's like I spent like my whole life and like every second, like working at myself as a volleyball player and like acquiring this information, this knowledge, these mindsets. And it would almost be a shame if I just did something else, because I have so much information and knowledge to give back. Maybe, I'm not the best coach in the world, but I think I can have a huge effect, not only on younger players, but maybe collegiate athletes and even professional athletes with the information I've gathered. Because as I said, when I was younger, I was nothing special. I wasn't on the youth junior national team. I wasn't even on the WUG team. And so I've really had to work at my game and craft it, not only on the physical side, but the mental side, and even a little bit on the spiritual side. So I have all this knowledge that I almost feel compelled to give back and to stay inside the volleyball domain.
If there is, I kind of like to answer this in two ways a little bit. One, who's the coach? And I think I already know this answer. Who's the coach that has really, made you the player you are today? And then on the other side, flip side, who's the guy? And I never like to ask, who's the guy that you imitated? Because I feel if you're an elite level athlete, you've looked at a ton of players in your life, and you've tried to take little bits and pieces from every single player. I don't think you can really say one guy is the guy that you're always trying to be, but who's the guy and who's the coach that really helped you along the way? I think I know that answer, like I said, but who's the guy that you kind of tried to take the biggest majority of the chunk of the way that you play right now, and kind of the one that you idolize the most?
Yeah, so Alan Knight, hands down. I've been able to work with a lot of great coaches, but I don't know. He's just always believed in me. And then like even in college when I was a little wild, he always had my back. He was quick to hold me honest and keep me to the standard that I should be performing at, like on and off the court. But he was also there, like not just to like punish me or to like throw me out, but to help raise me. And so he really helped me develop not only on the court, but off the court. And forever grateful for having him almost like a father figure.
Yep.
He had that big of an impact on me and my growth. And then I think I never really molded myself as a libero until I kind of became a professional and watching Sergio. But I tell his story a lot, and maybe I haven't said this yet, but you are a big inspiration for me, you and Tom Hoff. And so when I first started the national team, Scott Szynski and Tom Hoff were there. And I was just a ragtag, 22-year-old, like getting to the gym like 20 minutes before, just like once I had hair, where am I? And Scotty's in there like an hour and a half before, just sweating, working, crushing it. Tom Hoff is playing Pepper, just full drenched. It looked like he just saw Shamu. But just really absorbing and seeing how these guys were so mindful and really think the big thing too was just the impermanence of volleyball, and they were making the most of it. They didn't know when tomorrow would be their last day, but they made sure that every day they were getting the most out of themselves. And without Scotty and Tom as a guide, I don't think I would have made it this far, just because it helped me stay so focused and intentional each day, because the overseas life can be a grind, right? 7, maybe 8 months being in a place where you don't want to be, a team that isn't winning, maybe you're not getting paid, don't have any friends on the team, but you know what? You have to keep on improving day by day, because when you come back to the national team, the coach isn't going to be like, well, was your environment friendly for you to improve? You know, it's just like, well, where's your skill now? And so that's been something that's helped me so much throughout my career, because on the national team, my first 6 years, I didn't even train with the first team. I was like just wiping the floor and calling lines. I didn't even get in like for a couple points. It was like 6 years where I just was wiping the floors. And so when I went overseas, I had to like just push, because in the summer I wasn't getting any PT. I was just there to pepper and shag balls. And so Scotty and Tom Hoff were huge influences on me, much more than anyone was on the court. It was more so how I can work, what a pro looks like, and how intentional and purposeful I can be day after day. And when you commit to that, maybe you don't notice it days or weeks or even months, but 2 months, 3 months, 8 months at a time, 2 years at a time, and you just really start seeing yourself grow, and the confidence that comes from continually putting in the hard work, especially when you don't want to.
Yeah. So I love getting the perspective of guys that have, are living or have lived their dream of what they wanted to be, and be a volleyball player, be whatever. I knew my playing career was over when I was 18. I still played a little bit, but I knew when I started coaching when I was 17 years old. I started coaching in my senior high school, and I knew that was the path I wanted to go, and that was 26 years ago. I asked Scotty this, a couple weeks ago, Dustin, at what point in your career or in your life did you realize volleyball was what I was going to do for the rest of my life, or, as my job?
Yeah. You know what? I can't even say that, because after college, I didn't get a contract. After that, I got a contract to Finland, and I was like, I'm hoping I can get 2-3 years most. After the second year, I didn't have the greatest second year. I was still in Finland. My Finnish team didn't even want to re-sign me. I just got lucky. There was 2 Americans that I was close with playing in the French B League, and they dragged me over there. And like after that, it was just year by year. I was just hanging on, And so it was something that I obviously wanted to do, but necessarily it wasn't entirely up to me. Someone still had to believe in me. Someone still had to pay me. Someone still had to sign me. But most of the time, I was looking to coach. After college, my thought was, I'm going to go somewhere and get my master's and be a volunteer assistant. And it wasn't until like my assistant coach at Long Beach State's like, yeah, we're going to recommend you to the national team. And then I got pretty lucky. My college coach went with me to the national team. And so he brought me along, even though, like I said, I never really trained, but I was in that environment, and I was just like, more or less, I was like, this is pretty cool. Like, I want to keep on doing this. And so it's, I've just been going like year to year almost, maybe until like the last 3 or 4 years, where it's like, all right, I finally made my debut with the national team. I played really well with the team in a big game. And it's just like, all right, I think some teams will sign me.
That's pretty cool of what you said. Thank you for the great gestures there, man. I learned from the best thing that ever happened to me was moving down to South Orange County, Ladera Ranch. I started to carpool with Riley Solomon and Tom Hoff to practice every single day when I first made the national team. And I firmly believe that when you got somebody that's there ahead of you that has done it for so long, and they teach you the way that you do it. A great, obviously, person is Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace, Kobe, but he did it more than anybody, I think, in the basketball game of getting in early and leaving late. And I think you said something that, you didn't really say in a way, but I know exactly what you're saying is, you had to wait for somebody to believe in you, but ultimately you believed in yourself. And that's pretty much what takes the average volleyball player to the elite status. It was when they start to believe in themselves, they don't need anybody else. they can push themselves to places that nobody else can push them to because they have that full belief in themselves. What I love about you, Dustin, is you're giving back right now, man. Obviously, you give back to us as a club and to our parents and to our kids. I remember bringing some jerseys over to you in Long Beach when you had, all the people come up to your Volkswagen bus, and they were purchasing jerseys, and all those proceeds went back to a charity of your choice, which is phenomenal. I know you do those all the time on your Instagram account on Dusty, and it's phenomenal. What charity are you giving back to these days? And I know you're doing it a lot.
Yeah.
So who do you try to focus in on that?
I really like, there's an organization in Long Beach called Children Today, and they're able to do kindergarten and preschool for people that are homeless or parents that are out of jobs and they need, some place to put their kids while they go look for a job. And then recently I've been donating to this guy in Pennsylvania. He has a pretty funny name. He has a juice bar called Gangster Vegan, and his story is pretty unbelievable. He used to sell these gemstone t-shirts to Hollywood A-list and rappers, and was a huge deal. And I don't know what happened in the story, but eventually he landed on the streets. He was living a very hard, fast life. Landed on the streets. One day someone gave him a juice, and it changed his life. He moved back to Pennsylvania, opened up a juice shop, and he's just an absolute service to everyone. He before I used to give him money because he every Tuesday he gives a free organic meal to any kids. No questions asked, just come in, I'll feed you. And then right now what he's been doing is he's been buying organic groceries in bulk and giving it out to any families that need it.
Wow.
And so I just think that's amazing. He's just, fully switched around in terms of getting to giving. And so I'm just really happy to support his journey any way I can. And, just what he's doing every day on the ground and being there to empower those that for whatever reason are going through a really difficult time. And so that's someone I've been donating to lately.
That's awesome.
Hey, Dustin, give us a little breakdown. You mentioned some things, but a little breakdown of your volleyball journey up until this point. Describing some of the plays you play, we can break it down. And Scotty and I had this conversation, favorite place to play, least favorite. I know Scotty's least favorite place to play. Guys that you played with that pushed you, that you liked playing against, that you hated playing against. Just to give our millions of listeners out there an idea of what your volleyball journey's been like.
So I think I can't go deep into my pro without talking about my background, because I know there's a lot of younger athletes out there. I didn't start until I was a freshman in my spring season. My dad was a former volleyball coach at my high school, and the coach at the time, Crutchfield, knew that my dad had been a coach and I was a freshman, so he asked if I would play, and I'd always say no, it's a girls' sport. And he asked again, and I'm like, no, it's a girls' sport. But I found out some of my soccer friends were going to play, so I tried it. And then that season, I made a team. We went to JOs, and I was like, wow, I'm amazing. I'm going to Junior Olympics. And my team ended up getting last place. We lost to a team from Maryland. And I was like, all right, I'm not very good. And then from there, the next team I made was another 2 team back in the day, Surf City. And then it wasn't even really until my senior year I was a full starter. So I really got a late start. But after that, going pro, like I said, in between my first season in Long Beach, I stayed home. I didn't get a contract. I just set the ball back and forth with Tyler Hildebrand every day, who was recovering from a knee surgery. But after that, I played in Finland for 2 years. I played in France B. Another crazy story, because we're Phillies and overseas. The team I signed with for the next coming year was in the B League, and they ended up going to the A League. Once they made it to the A League, they did kind of push me away and said, we don't want you. We want this Bulgarian libero. I was completely without a job, thought my career was going to end. And then I miraculously ended up with a contract in Brazil. Played there. That was a crazy season, good and bad. I played in Ajaccio, which is a French island, Corsica. That was amazing. Went back to France for another year, 2 years in Poland, last year in Berlin, and then this year again in Poland. So I've been around the block.
So how is that looking for you moving forward? What are they telling you? Do you communicate with your team in Poland at this point? Is there any
Oh yeah,
communication?
I'm communicating a lot because they're trying to cut all my money. Luckily, I have a great agent, the same guy that Scotty used to work with, who is a great guy in Poland, and so he's working with it. But yeah, I'm talking to my team a lot because in the beginning of the season, we thought it was the best thing ever because our team is run by the city, and it's like kind of a Barcelona club where we have football or soccer and hockey and volleyball. But begin the year, we got like a new president who hates volleyball. And so he's just threatening and blackmailing all the players to signing these contracts, saying that we won't have a team next year. And so I've been talking a little bit with my agent, but it's one of those things where it's just like, you know what, this isn't completely within my control. I'm not going to get stressed out about it. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to gossip about it. I'm just going to be clear with the facts, let my agent go to work. And you know what, at the end of the day, if I don't get any money, okay. If I get my contract cut for next year, okay, I'm going to be fine. I'll find a way. So long story short, I was supposed to go back to Poland, but who knows what will happen right now.
It's amazing for a lot of you at home who watches this podcast. The job as a professional athlete for volleyball is not the most stable of jobs. Obviously, I'm owed a lot of money from 3 different clubs overseas still to this day. These are jobs. A team I played for in Puerto Rico, we won the championship of all things. First time they've ever won the championship, and they still owe me a bunch of money that they never paid. They're like, hey, great, we won, but we're not going to pay you. So I hear you, Dusty. It's not the best thing in the world, but I love your outlook on it that, hey, you know, we talk about this with our boys in the club a lot, with me and Brian Pichal, our boys director. You know, the only things that you can control are things that are in your own power. And those are a lot of things that just, you know, your effort, a lot of times, your attitude and your communication are the biggest things you can control and on the volleyball court. And if you don't do that and you're thinking about all these different things, you're not going to be able to perform at the level you want to. So what's next this summer? You got a lot more Zooms lined up with clubs all the way through?
Yeah, we're Zooming. I just I want to be of service. I've been doing more Zooms with coaches because it's so weird, like talking about myself where it's like, arrogantly, like I think the stuff I'm talking about is pretty amazing, especially for younger players and coaches, because I have to get every edge I can to make sure that I'm like playing well, which means I'm getting contracts and I'm getting paid. So my whole life is like breaking down, especially passing as much as I can. And not just from what I've learned or someone has taught me, because for better or for worse, you know, a lot of coaches, they teach how they were taught. And for me, I'm just watching tons of video, you know, guys from France, guys from Poland, guys from Argentina, guys from Brazil. There's so many different ways to play the game and seeing what resonates with me. What guys are the simplest, what guys are being able to replicate what they're doing time and time again. And then therefore, you know, me taking this knowledge and putting it back into my game, because at the top level, we only have like such a short time between the ball leaving the server's hand to us having to touch the ball. And so we have to prepare well, we have to move efficiently, and we have to be very quick creating space between our arms and our body. And if any time we don't do that well, it's a shank. And so just trying to get this information out, because even just if I were to have this information last year, like it would be amazing, because this year I've watched maybe like an hour a day of video creating this series. And so I've learned so much more just creating it. But getting this information out to people, I'm going to start writing a digging course. And so just using this time for the best case scenario, like good, you know, I can't play volleyball, good. I can't, I'm not with the national team, good, you know, just like pivoting hard, like, all right, well, this is great because, and that's my favorite thing. Actually, a lot of people ask me, you know, what can I do after hard games or situations that are difficult? I have a sticky on my kitchen and it says, this is good because ... And so I think I remember vividly actually asking myself a question when we played you guys in Yashembia. It was a tough game. It's like, this is good because I can commit myself to more extra work. This is good because, I wasn't so mentally tough. So I'm going to commit back to mindfulness meditation every day. This is good because I didn't feel good. So I need to eat a little bit better, not eating junk food. This is good because I was tired. I need to get back to my sleep routine. And so, there's a problem, there's a challenge, but let's be really quick to focus on that problem. Let's be even quicker to switch into a solution, pivot, recalculate, and use it into fuel to help us learn and grow into a better version of ourselves.
Love it.
Give our high P families. You mentioned playing against Scotty. I know that you were in the gym with him with the national team as well, and I'm sure you guys bumped into each other at some Long Beach events here and there. Give our families at home something about Scotty that's family friendly that nobody knows about.
Yeah, I mean, so not just in Long Beach, not just on the national team, but throughout the world, I think Scotty is known as like the best teammate ever. Talking with some of the guys in Yoshembia, the team wouldn't have the success they did without Scotty being there like day to day with the guys. He wouldn't have to even kill a ball, but just his presence on the team. And you can see it. And I try to model my game after Scotty, just being there. And I like the phrase, what is it? What is the phrase I like? But Scotty's just always there to calm guys down, and then just to really give to other guys to help them and kind of break out of their shell. Maybe they're a little insecure or anxious, but you can see when they do well, Scotty is the first to shake them out of it. And so with Scotty on the team, it's like a seventh player. And so not just how he works, his interaction with the guys, but Scotty is like the true professional. And because of Scotty, teams, I think, are so much more successful, and the players are more confident, the players are looser. And so, I don't know, Scott, I've kind of thrown bits and pieces over there to Scotty, but Scotty's made a really, really big impact in my career, and leading the way in regards to his character of how I can push each day to the standard that Scotty brings to the gym. Not only how he works, but how he gives, and how he gives selflessly. And so when I was telling my parents, I'm with my parents, my mom was like, "Oh, what are you doing today?" "Oh, I got an early call." They're like, "What, with who?" I'm like, "With Scotty." And they're like, "Oh." I'm like, "Yeah, it's not a big deal. Like, for Scotty, anything, And so I'm just so humbled to know Scotty, to have him as a friend. And then just the times to compete against him too. The times that I've played against Scotty were like some of the best moments of my career. Scotty actually gave me, I have it in my room, the Dodge Parker Award. It's like, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like pretty much like you're like the 49er of the year, because it's not necessarily like how good you are, but it's like what you bring every day to training, how hard you work, how much you give. And so I received the Dodge Parker Award from Scotty, and that was like one of the best moments, because again, it was receiving something that meant so much to me, because for me, it's most important how I act and how I give and how I come to work. And so having that award was much more important than having an All-American, because this is something completely within my control. And to have Scotty give it to me. So Scotty was like the legend before I got to Long Beach. And so it felt so nice. I was like, I can't say it was like a passing of the torch, but it just felt so good. And so overall, I can't say enough good things about Scotty, but I think just how he gives, and the things that are within his control, he goes 100% all the time. His work ethic. I remember hearing the stories about how he came back from a devastating injury, which probably should have ended his career, where he'd wake up at 4:30 every day and go work out with our crazy assistant coach at Long Beach. And then, I don't know, just his commitment. You see him at USA Volleyball when, maybe he should have been on the court training, but he wasn't. And like most guys, that especially older guys, even some young guys, they sit off in the corner like this, like I should be playing, I should be in the drill. Scotty always had the towel, and he was always quick to wipe the floor. And so these things made a big impact on me too. And I do the same thing now. When I'm not training, I'm the first guy to get the towel. I'll steal from a young guy. And it's just like, if it's in my control, I'm going to do 100% because guys like Scotty and Tom Hoff, you know, they led the way. And so, yeah, I just can't say for me personally how much of a role model Scotty is and how much of an impact he's had on my career and my growth as not just a volleyball player, but as a human. So
I remember Alan asking me to give you that Dodge Parker Award. And originally I had a bunch of stuff going on that day and I wasn't going to do it. And I'm like, well, who's it for? You know, who's getting it? And he said, Dustin Watten. I said, I'm there. No questions asked. I'll do it. And, you know, it meant a lot to give that award. Obviously, I was lucky enough to win that award when I was there. And my team in 2004, we actually are the only team at Long Beach State to have the team win the whole entire Dodge Parker Award, which was a huge accomplishment just for the team of being there the whole entire time. You know, it's cool hearing that, Dustin. Thank you again. The one thing that I really think about when you say all those things is just mindset. You know, we're lucky enough to have you this past Tuesday and talk to our families. We have Reed Pretty coming on tonight, and he's going to be talking about mindset to all of our kids and families, and him talking about reaching your max potential in this new program that he's got for the kids, just like you guys have as well. Mm-hmm. You know, mindset is a huge thing in the game. I always say that, you know, it's 70% mindset, 30% abilities. You've put the work in more than anybody I've ever seen put work in my whole entire life. You know, like you said, you weren't the most talented guy, just like myself. You worked harder than everybody else. You pushed yourself beyond belief. And obviously, you know, without putting the work in, you're never going to have the success that you have today. What is your mindset? You know, every time you step on the court, you know, when you're over there, you play against juggernauts, you know, like Skra, like Zaxa, you know, Ushtenbia, like you talked about, you know, Zenit Kazan, all these big time teams. What's your mindset when you step on the volleyball court?
Yeah, the big one for me is gratitude. I was actually talking with TJ Sanders last night, setter of the Canadian national team. He just came back from a big back injury. And he was talking about the game to qualify for the Olympics. He just was so unsure of himself, especially his physical ability. But he just had so much gratitude on the court. And even when he messed up, it wasn't a big deal because he was just so grateful to be back on the court. And this is a big thing for me because I've struggled a lot with being insecure and not playing well. And I think what a lot of athletes experience is shame. I'm not playing well. Everyone's looking at me. Coach is going to take me out. You know, this is my image as a volleyball player and I'm losing it, you know? But when you step on the court with gratitude, you're grateful for what you already have rather than I need to accomplish something. I need to obtain something to feel whole. So when I step on the court, if you look at my Instagram profile, there's a lot of pictures of me touching the line and taking a knee. It's nothing really religious, even though I got it from Brazil where it's very religious, but it's just me. And I'll touch the ground and I'll just say, thank you so much for this experience. There's no place I'd rather be. And I'll say a couple other things, but with each finger that touches the ground, I'm just, again, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so when I put my head up, I have a smile and it's just like, all right, let's go. Like I'm going to compete and I'm going to dominate. And if I don't dominate, then I'm going to get to the next point. And at the end of the game, if I didn't dominate, then I'm going to learn from it. It's not like there's a salvation waiting for me and it's a black or white. I obtain it, we win, we play great, I'm happy. I didn't do it, we lose, I didn't play good, I'm sad. I'm grateful for every experience because no matter what, I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to be stronger from it. And I think this is a big thing too for younger athletes in their pursuit of being great. Again, go all in on the things that you can control. Your ability to set goals, you know, your ability to journal, get to extra reps, come to practice working hard, having good attitude, giving good energy to your teammates, because all these things will correlate to you achieving your goal. And there's a chance, yes, you won't achieve your goal, but during this path, this is the important thing. The obstacle is away during this path, because even if you don't achieve your goal, you're going to have this character that will stay with you for the rest of your life, no matter what you do. Whether you're a volleyball player, a volleyball coach, go into business, you'll have this character from the path that you've chosen to go completely all in. And so no matter what, even if you don't achieve your goal, you're still going to be a winner at the end of the day.
Love it.
I want to get a couple of quick hitters here. You know, you talked a little bit about your volleyball journey and where you played. some of the things I really like to hear from people that have experienced a lot of different environments. Favorite place that you've ever played and why?
Woo. I think this year we had a completely new team, which in Poland, it never happens. Never happens. We only had 2 guys that stayed, and these guys didn't even play for us. Completely new team. All the players were like bench players last year. There was, I think on our team, there wasn't one starter in the Plus Liga last year, and everyone was just like, from what I heard, everyone was gossiping, like, terrible players, what are they doing? And we ended up getting 6th place in the league. And it was just like all the time on the court, we were jumping around like we were kids, like we were like the 12-year-old Puerto Ricans around the court running around. And we just believed in ourselves as individuals, and most importantly, the hard work that it was going to take. And so sometimes the coach would call the practice. All right, everyone can go if you want to stay and get extra reps. And a lot of times our whole team would stay. And so it was just amazing character, kind of a bunch of ragtag misfits, and we just dominated the league. I think if we, it's really unfortunate, if we would have continued playing into the playoffs, I think we would have gone to the semis. We played really well against the top 4 teams. And so this year was my favorite. It was just a combination of, for me especially, just a lot of work done. I had a difficult season last year where, I was kind of taken off the court, and it was, again, just a feeling of abundance and so much elevated emotion coming back to the court, so much gratitude. And because of this, I didn't take any rep for granted, and it was just an amazing feeling.
Okay, let's flip it. Least favorite place to play?
Yeah, so this is easy. Nancy in France. It was like a long story short. I signed with another French team. That team went bankrupt, and so there was only 3 teams left. The first 2 passed on me, and the last one was Nancy. Nancy in France, you signed the teams like extremely early. So Nancy was in the B, and they signed their team to play in the B League again. But they ended up winning playoffs and having to go to A. And so it was just me and one other player that was signed later. And it was just like the worst season ever. Coach was always yelling, terrible gym. It was always cold, but never snowed. So it was just always raining. I broke up with my longtime girlfriend. The team ended up going 3-23. And I got to a point where I was just like, F this, I'm quitting. Called my agent, get me out of here. Find me a team. If not, I'm just going to go home. I don't even care. Slept on it. And during the time where I kind of slept on it and talked to my agent again, I started reading a book called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Roman emperors ever, who, unlike most Roman emperors, ruled off of more of a philosophical approach. And reading this, just realized that there's many different perceptions we can take of reality, and I was just choosing one of a victim. So after reading a couple pages of this book, I was like, I've never been a quitter. I'm not going to start being one now. I'm going to do everything that's within my control. And at the time, I had like a list of like different micro tasks that, if accomplished every day, or just even 60 or 70%, I knew I was growing. And that year, sometimes I would do it, sometimes I wouldn't. Maybe 40% of the list was done during the week. I'm going to do 100%. Everything that's within my control, I'm doing it. There's no excuses. So I'd wake up early, meditate, eat a good breakfast, stretch, roll, come back from practice, do conditioning in the park, juice, watch video of myself, watch video of the other team. I couldn't get extra reps before this period because we had a team before us and a team after us. So I would warm up in my jacket and in my pants inside my apartment. And once my ride came, I was already ready. So when my team was warming up, I would get extra reps. So it was just like no excuses, no pity. And so this was my worst year ever, but it was the best thing to ever happen to me. And again, talking about with TJ last night, we're so quick to judge, but sometimes the worst moments, maybe a moment like now, is actually serving our highest growth. And so we just have to be curious and open to each moment by moment.
That's awesome. I love how you flipped the script on that.
Yeah,
Last one for me, and then I'll let Scotty jump in. and you can approach this in one of two ways, I think. Going into a match, either the player that you didn't want to play against, that, I don't like to use the word scared, but the guy that you're like, man, I got to dig this guy all night, or just the guy that you went into that you really looked forward to playing against.
Yeah. Forward against, I would say Scotty and Sergio. When I first got to play against Sergio, I was like, wow, this is the best day ever. And I got to play against him twice, actually. I got to play against him. We had a scrimmage in 2015 in UCI, and I got to start against the first team from Brazil and Sergio. That was amazing. Guy that I didn't want to play against, probably Tom Hoff or Riley Salmon.
That's a lot of trash.
I got a great story. When I was first in the gym, I was calling lines. I was like an airhead. And Tom Hoff was like on my side. And I called it out at first. And this was like good for Tom Hoff. And then like everyone was yelling at me. And I was like, in. And Tom Hoff looked at me. He's like, well, what the F is it? Is it in or is it effing out? I was just like, it's out. So I loved the way that he was just all in on every point. And after that, anytime I called lines, it was just like one call, and that was it. Anyone could argue with me. It was just like the one call. And so I joke about Tom Hoff and Riley Salmon, but I loved, again, learning from them as well, and just the intensity they brought to every point. And I didn't want to play against a guy like that. I wanted a guy to go easy. I don't want that intense competitor that I also wanted to be on the other side as well.
Awesome. It's awesome. One thing that I just want to end up on here, and Dustin, thank you so much for your time, man. You've been a great friend and a great role model to so many kids around the world, actually. One thing you said right there, some of the worst times are the best for you. I can remember a time overseas was the exact same as what you went through. When I was in Greece, it was a terrible season. You alluded to my almost career-ending injury of tearing my ACL. That was probably, and people think I'm absolutely crazy to say this, but tearing my ACL was by far the best thing that ever happened to me in my whole entire life. I met my wife, or I already knew my wife, but we got engaged because of it. I learned how to really watch video and compete and work harder than I've ever worked in my whole entire life. And I firmly believe, just like you said, us going through this pandemic right now is going to make us an even stronger country. We're going to make us a lot stronger as individuals. We're obviously getting a lot more family time right now. You're able to see your family, which you very rarely ever get to at this time of the year, which is great. Mm-hmm. But I think we just got to be positive in what we're doing right now and keep on trying to serve each other and ourselves right now to make sure that we're better humans leading out after this pandemic. Because, I think we still have quite a bit more to go on this thing, unfortunately. I got a facility opening up right now, so I'm like, let's get this thing done right now, but I think it's better. And thank you so much for taking your time. I know it's early out there, but love you, bud. And thanks for everything you're doing for us. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So grateful to be of service. And then if your athletes ever have any questions, they can just write me on Instagram and my DMs. I respond to everyone. I'm just happy to help.
Dustin, we really appreciate you taking the time. Is there anything you can plug here? Anything we can do for you? Anything you want to plug?
My journal is still up. I think there's still a promo code STL to get it for free. Inside the journal, I write all about journaling, why it's beneficial, why we're going to ask and answer each question. You can do it. I have a Word document, so you can do it online. I have PDFs where you can print it out and write it. But I think this is the biggest thing that athletes can do right now, start journaling, because when you get back on the court, now you're going to be much more intentional. And the biggest thing for athletes is what happens when things go wrong? Well, what happens? But by journaling, you're able to be a co-creator of flipping and recalibrating your challenges, or like Scotty says, like the toughest situations into our biggest teachers. And so we start the day with like intention and purpose. At the end, 3 things that went well, because, we're always like, if something bad happens, okay, the whole day is a catastrophe. But you find the 3 things that went well, and you're like, okay, maybe I didn't take a huge step today, but I'm taking steps. And so you're able to realize that you are growing. And then the biggest challenge, okay, maybe I sucked at flow serving today, but what am I going to do differently tomorrow? I'm going to get in the gym and work on my flow server with the coaches. And so we're a conscious co-creator in flipping difficult moments, tough moments, failures into our biggest growth. And then at Noisy Buckets, free 7-day passing course. If you like that and you want to go all in, I have 50 minutes of video of showing all these techniques through the best players in the world. And so that's gone really well with athletes and especially coaches. Coaches have really liked watching that. So I'm really happy. It's the stuff that I've learned throughout my career is giving value to other people. And so I hope I continue doing that during the quarantine.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us again. And hope everybody staying safe and healthy, and looking forward to see everybody in person very soon.
Yeah, I want to get out there. I want to get out there and check out the lab.
That's it, man. We'll get you here, bud.
All right.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
All right. See you guys.